Morning. So, David yesterday asked me to bring teaching today, so I did. Hello. Good morning. We're still in Matthew 17, and we are going to cover Matthew 17:24-27. My family and I have already invited Holy Spirit to join us, and that we are looking forward to seeing what He brings forth. So, Matthew 17:24. I am reading out of the New King James, by the way. When they had come to Capernaum, those who received the temple tax came to Peter and said, "Does your teacher not pay the temple tax?" And Peter said, "Yes." And when he had come into the house, Jesus anticipated him, saying, "What do you think, Simon? From whom do the kings of the earth take customs or taxes? From their sons or from strangers?" And Peter said to him, "From strangers." And Jesus said to him, "Then the sons are free. Nevertheless, lest we offend them, go to the sea, cast in a hook, and take the fish that comes up first. And when you have opened its mouth, you will find a piece of money. Take that and give it to them for me and you." So, the people who collect the tax, and this is the temple tax, so it's not the tax that was Caesar. This is a different tax. So different than what Matthew did, because Matthew was a tax collector, but he was a tax collector for Rome, not for the temple. So they're saying, hey, we haven't gotten a tax from you, but they phrased it differently. Instead of just saying, "Yo, give us your money," they said, let's find another way to trap Jesus. "Doesn't your teacher pay the temple tax?" So it seemed so innocent, and it had a barb on it. The question had like an arrow with a barb on it. And so Peter didn't take the bait. Peter said yes, and he walked away. And so he came to the house. Jesus knew, obviously, Jesus is God, but he knew and anticipated him. And rather than letting Simon use his mouth in a wrong fashion, he preempted it by saying, "Okay, Simon, let's have a conversation. If you're talking about a king, so think about a king of Greece, we'll say. And does the king of Greece tax his own children? Or does the king tax the people that live in the land?" Okay, pretty much what he's saying here. Mm-hmm. So the obvious answer is
the people in the land.
People in the land, right. So the princes of the world and the princesses of the world don't pay taxes. But all the people that live in the kingdom do. And so what was Jesus' point there? In this context of the temple tax, okay, so this is the tax to the temple, okay? In the context of the temple tax and this story where Jesus is talking about kings and who pays taxes, where was Jesus going?
That he's the son of the kings, so that he didn't have to pay the tax. Or
go ahead.
Do you believe, or does your people believe?
Okay. He was referring to himself as the son of God.
Yep.
Because, the temple is to worship who?
Jesus.
God. Yeah.
So that's what I was saying.
Yeah, right, exactly. So Jesus was the son. Jesus is the Son of God, and Jesus is the head of the temple. He should not have had to pay a tax. But the temple tax collectors didn't see him in that way. And so that's why he made that illustration. So the sons are free, and he would have been free. But nevertheless, that was not a battle he was choosing to fight at that time. Okay? Nevertheless, lest we offend them, because we all know that offense is the bait of Satan, and offense is a humongous problem. Today it was a humongous problem then. Go to the sea. Now, what was Peter's job before
Fisherman.
Right, exactly. So this is right in Peter's wheelhouse. Okay, go to the sea, cast in a hook, and take the fish that comes up first. Okay, now how did Jesus know what fish was going to come up first?
He didn't.
Right, he didn't. Okay, so, do you think that the coin materialized in the mouth of the first fish that came along and bit his hook? Have you guys given this any thought? Because I love Arthur's exposition on this one. He talked to a fish, told the fish to go pick up a coin and bring it, and then put himself on Peter's hook.
Yeah.
Yeah, he told the fish to impale yourself on Peter's hook. And the fish did. The fish obeyed the king of the universe as the fish should have.
Yes.
And because and probably did it gladly. And did Peter throw the fish back, or did Peter have the fish for lunch? We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Either would have been appropriate. It would have been fine for Peter to throw the fish back. It would have been fine for Peter to eat the fish for lunch. Fish is part of the provision that God has made for us.
I thought that Jesus talked to God and he had God like put a coin in the fish mouth.
Yeah, I think he actually just spoke to a fish and told him to scoop up a coin, because coins fall in the ocean, whatever, and then get on the hook. He directed him to where to go. Go ahead, Ben.
The other thing too is, I'm just tossing this one out. Just this random historical background. 2 drachmas are what you paid Charon to get across the river Styx in Greek mythology.
It's true.
So I think there's probably something there that these guys that are dealing with this religious syncretistic society that probably threw in some of this syncretism from Greek mythology into dealing with this new thing of the 2 drachma tax, and drachmas probably happen to be some of the most common currency of the day. There's probably this dynamic of a spirit of death that was tied up in the temple system, 2 drachma tax, in order to cross the river, in order to be pleasing to the Lord, whatever Lord in this case. Passing over to Hades, as the case may be. I don't know. Just one of those random historical things. I saw 2 drachma and I said, wait a minute, that reminds me of the river Styx. I don't know. Probably something that was involved there that was wrapped up on top of that. Probably some stuff to do with Sheol as well. Underworld, aquifers, etc., water. And Jesus here is also giving the understanding to us that he is Lord of the water and everything that is in it.
That's good.
And so when you put the coins in the fish's mouth, boom, boom, Jesus is showing his dominion even over death.
I like it.
I like the bit on the offense, though, a lot.
So in the end, Jesus chose the option of paying the tax for the purpose of not offending them at that point, and yet he also provided in an appropriate fashion because he's the son, and it should not have come out of his personal resource. Go ahead, Miss.
Do you think it's possible Peter gave the fish to Jesus and Jesus gave the fish to the people that asked for the tax?
No, I think Peter gave the money to the people asking for the tax because that was the currency that they were looking for the tax in. I don't think they were looking for a fish.
He probably caught and released it.
So it is interesting of note that Peter, that he asked Peter to cast in a hook. And so do you recall what Peter is a fisherman, was a fisherman. What was his standard mode of catching fish?
Eat? Release?
Oh, when he was doing fisherman work, how did they catch their fish?
He didn't catch it with a line, a fish, a pole, and a hook.
Exactly.
He caught it with a net.
They used humongous nets.
Drag nets.
Probably at the time they were drag nets, exactly. And they so the fact now a fisherman's going to know how to do various forms of fishing, but I do find it interesting here that he said, "I'll cast a hook." But Peter didn't go, I don't know how to do that. He was a fisherman, probably cast a hook on his own time, but when he did it professionally, he was using a net.
He was given
so.
the opportunity for one fish rather than try to get a net and, oh, I need to make sure I have more fish so I can look for it and find until I find one that has the coin.
Exactly. So that was way
You
better
need to
too.
have faith.
Well, I mean, a net would have brought in 100 fish, and he didn't have to go through the mouths of 100 fish. Jesus provided the precise fish, the precise amount of tax. It was done. It was a wonderful provision, miracle, and he took care of himself and Peter. Okay, so Peter would have still had to pay the tax,
Yes.
but Jesus took care of both of them, which is a grace and a provision. So, anyway, good.
What's a shekel?
A piece of money. It's like a half a penny or something, right? A shekel.
Shekel is a unit of Jewish money. It is very small, yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Worth 20 gerahs. Whatever that means. It's another unit of money.
Yeah. So it's a smaller unit of money, not a bigger unit of money. So.
Yep.
All right. Any questions?
No.
Okay. I bless you all. I bless you to have an awesome day and to look to Jesus for provision. To look for creative ways to pay taxes, to pay, to do the things that he's called us to do. Let's not just always look to our own resources. Let's look to creative ways. Let's remember to not lean on our own understanding when things come through, but to ask the Lord. It's not even, am I just relying on my own understanding,
Yes.
but it's am I even reaching out and asking? If I'm facing a big test, or if I'm not feeling well, or I woke up this morning with a nasty headache, and my first response was, Lord, would you please help me? This headache is awful. But if my first response was, oh, I've got to take some Tylenol so I can get rid of this headache, what am I leaning on? I'm leaning on pharmakia. Okay, I'm not leaning on the Lord. I didn't even ask him.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so there's the principle there is, are we even asking? Are we even relying on him? We're having trouble with somebody at school, or we're having an issue with anything. Are we even asking? Or do we ask our friends first? Or do we rely on what's always worked in the past first? Or do we look at the volume in our bank account first, or whatever? Make sure you're leaning on him. Ask him. Reach out to him. And look for the creative ways he may answer. Because he does. And he does speak to us. And he's speaking to us on a regular basis. But are we listening? So that's my challenge to you today. And I bless you. Have a fantastic day. May the joy of the Lord fill you to overflowing. And be gracious to you in all your ways. All his ways, actually. Bye.